Hi everybody, long time no see. Welcome to Storytime with Fairfield County Library. My name's Miss Nina and I am so excited to be back for Storytime today. Are you guys ready? Alright, okay. This month is Women's History Month. To celebrate, this week's theme is going to be Women of History. In this video, we are going to be reading 2 books that tell stories about some famous women who did some really cool things. Alright. Our first person that we're going to talk about today is Katherine Johnson, and we're going to do it with this book, Counting on Katherine, How Katherine Johnson Saved Apollo 13. This book is by Helaine Becker, illustrated by Down Phumiruk, and published by Christy Ottaviano Books. Katherine loved to count. She counted the steps to the road, the steps up to church, the number of dishes and spoons she washed in the bright white sink. The only things she didn't count were the stars in the sky. Only a fool, she thought, would try that. Even so, the stars sparkled her imagination. What was out there? Katherine yearned to know as much as she could about numbers, about the universe, about everything. Katherine's boundless curiosity turned her into a star student. She was so bright she skipped 3 whole grades. She catapulted right past her brother. He wasn't too happy about that. By the time she turned 10, Katherine was ready for high school. But back then, America was legally segregated by race. Her town's high school didn't admit black students of any age. Katherine burned with fury. She wanted, more than anything, to keep learning. There was still so much to know. "Count on me," Katherine's father told her. By working night and day, he earned enough money to move the family to a town with a black high school. Let's see. All the way over here. Over here. Katherine loved high school. She was good at every subject, but math was still her favorite. She dreamed of becoming a research mathematician, making discoveries about the number patterns that the foundations of the universe. In those days, though, there were no jobs as research mathematicians for women. Professions most available to them were teaching and nursing. So Katherine became an elementary school teacher. She liked her job and she loved her students, but she never stopped dreaming about exploring numbers. In the 1950s, the U.S. government's National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics, NACA, hired thousands of new employees. It even started hiring black women as mathematicians. Katherine heard about the mathematician jobs. Her heart raced with excitement. Perhaps her dream would come through after all. But when she applied for one of the positions, she was told they were already filled. Katherine had to wait a whole year until new spots opened up. Her patience paid off. She got the job. A few years later, the Soviet Union sent a rocket ship into space, launching a space race with the United States. NACA was rolled into the new space agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA. Katherine now found herself at the heart of America's space program. She worked as a computer, electronic computers were not widely used yet, calculating long series of numbers. All the computers were women. They were given the tasks that men thought were boring and unimportant. That didn't bother Katherine. She knew that without her contributions, a spaceship couldn't reach its destination nor safely return to Earth. Here's why. Sending a rocket ship into space is like throwing a ball into the air. At first, the force of the throw sends the ball up, up, up. But as its energy runs out, the ball's path curves back toward the ground. Where it lands depends on what angle it was thrown and how high and how fast it flew. Because math is a kind of language, Katherine could ask these questions. How high would the rocket ship go and how fast would it travel? Using numbers, and numbers would provide an all-important answer. Where would it land? To find out, Katherine plotted the numbers she'd calculated on a graph. When she joined the points together, they formed a curved line. At one end of that line was Earth, and at the time the rocket ship launched. At the other was where Earth would be when the ship landed. Katherine's reputation for accuracy and strong leadership skills, she was known for asking plenty of questions, got her promoted to Project Mercury, a new program designed to send the first astronauts into space. Mercury's missions were going to be dangerous, so dangerous that even the project's star astronaut, John Glenn, refused to fly unless Katherine okayed the numbers. "You can count on me," she said. Glenn's spacecraft, Friendship 7, orbited Earth 3 times and returned home safely. Glenn became a national hero. Katherine was promoted again. Now she was asked to calculate the flight paths for Project Apollo, the first flights to the moon. "Count on me," she said. On July 20, 1969, the Apollo 11 astronauts walked on the moon. Their feat was celebrated around the world. More triumphs followed. Apollo 12 rocketed to the moon in November 1969. Apollo 13 launched on April 11, 1970, but on the third day of Apollo 13's flight, the worst thing happened. An explosion in space! Could the crippled spaceship make it to the moon? And if it didn't, would it be able to get back home to Earth? The 3 astronauts on board were in grave peril. Commander Jim Lovell told Mission Control, "Houston, we've had a problem." Back on Earth, Katherine Johnson got a phone call. Her flight path calculations would have to be done all over again and perfectly. It would be the toughest challenge of her life. Katherine told Mission Control, "You can count on me." She rolled up her sleeves and took a deep breath and began doing the math. She worked hard and fast. A few hours later, Katherine's calculations were finished. The flight path to return home would take the ship around the far side of the moon. From there, the moon's gravity would act like a slingshot to zing the ship back to Earth. To get home, the crew of Apollo 13 would have to follow Katherine's course exactly by burning off fuel at precise intervals. If the astronauts made a mistake, their ship would drift through space forever. Katherine waited anxiously to hear the astronauts' report. Finally, it crackled over the loudspeakers. "We've got it! Apollo 13 was back on track." Katherine Johnson had done it. She'd brought Apollo 13 home. She was no longer the kid who dreamed of what lay beyond the stars. She was now a star herself. All right, that was Counting on Katherine. Do you guys like it? All right, our first book is about Frida Kahlo, and the book we are going to be reading is Frida by Jonah Winter, illustrated by Ana Juan, and published by Arthur A Levine Books. Frida enters the world. For little Frida, the world is Mexico. Her house is a blue house. It is in the town of Coyoacán. Frida's father is an artist and a photographer. He teaches her how to use a paintbrush. Frida's mother takes care of 6 daughters. Often she is tired. Often Frida is lonely, even though she has sisters. Enter stage left, Frida's imaginary friend. Her name is also Frida. They play games. All of a sudden, Frida falls very ill. She's in bed for months. There's something wrong with one of her legs. Even her imaginary friend can't cheer her. That's when Frida teaches herself how to draw. Drawing saves her from being sad. After Frida gets well, she still wants to make art, so she paints little paintings. They are copies of other paintings. Painting onto photographs is what Frida's father does for a living. He teaches her how to do this too. Frida also paints things she sees through the microscope. She loves looking at things very closely. At school, Frida studies science. She is bored. School is too easy. One day, Frida is riding a bus home from school. In the hospital, it is painting that saves her once again. Painting is like her imaginary friend. It is there whenever she wants it, to keep her company. It keeps her from giving up hope. After the accident, life will never be the same for Frida. She will walk with a cane when she is able to walk. Her body will hurt always. But Frida doesn't cry or complain. Instead of crying, she paints pictures of herself crying. When she can't leave her bed, she paints in bed. When her whole torso is put in a cast, she paints on the cast. Nothing can stop Frida from painting. Because she's so often alone, unable to leave her house, she has to use her imagination. She paints what she sees in her heart, on top of what she sees with her eyes. It's almost like painting on photographs. She paints little magical scenes with words at the bottom. All over Mexico, people paint these kind of scenes. Sometimes they are scenes of accidents with angels coming to the rescue. They are like prayers for people who are sick. They are called ex-votos. Frida paints ex-votos of herself when she is sick or in pain. Frida imitates no one in her style. Her paintings are like nothing else. In museums, people still look at them and weep and sigh and smile. She turns her pain into something beautiful. It is like a miracle. Viva Frida! Long live Frida! That was Frida by Jonah Winter. What do you guys think about the art in that book? All right, everybody, thank you for coming to story time. Now, just because we're done reading does not mean we have to be done with story time. At the library, you can get something called a Storytime kit, which is a fun-filled activity kit that goes with the books you read today. Each kit comes with a coloring sheet, a craft, and a tasty recipe that you can make with your grown-ups. This week, our craft is a flower headband, just like Frida Kahlo's art. To get a kit, you need to come to the Fairfield County Library and look for some crates in the children's section. Now, you have 2 crates, one for Monday story time and one for Wednesdays. So you want to make sure that you grab the right kits, or you could end up with something completely different than what I talked about. The kits for this story time are in the group A crates. They're the red ones. New kits come out every week whenever there's a new story time. And if you want to try a kit from last week, it never hurts to ask one of the librarians. We might still have some. Maybe ask for me, Miss Nina. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me for story time. It's time to say goodbye, but I look forward to seeing you all next time. And I hope to see you in the library this week to pick up a storytime kit. Bye!